today I am interviewing trumpeter Matilda Lloyd. How are you doing?
Very well.
What have you had going on at the moment? You've been mega busy, haven't you?
Mega busy. So I've been having some launch events for my next album that's coming out very soon in September.
Oh,
yeah, that's been really, really exciting.
It's with Chandos, is it?
Yeah, we've done a chamber orchestra disc, a full symphony orchestra disc, and this is now a trumpet and organ album. Yeah, very different.
Organ's kind of fashionable at the moment, isn't it? Because of Anna Lapwood.
Yeah, that's true.
Hopefully I'll get her on one day.
I'm sure you will.
But I was actually going to ask you about the album because I've got my own album coming out.
Exciting.
It'll be next year. Mm-hmm. I found the process of recording really quite different and challenging.
Yeah.
In different ways I didn't quite expect when I was recording. I mean, how was it for you and what did you face when you were doing it?
With the trumpet, there's kind of the main challenge and difficulty is managing the lip and the stamina throughout every day. And then because you're recording, normally it's 3 consecutive days, it's kind of having to make a plan to do certain pieces on certain days and start with this piece and end with that piece so that then the lips feel all right in the morning, and it's that's kind of the main challenge. But actually, for me, I really enjoy the recording process. I find it very satisfying when you can kind of have the creativity to take the risks and to know that you can do it again. Really take every single note that's on the page and think, how can we maximize this note? How can we get every nuance out of the music, out of every phrase, take the risks with the dynamics and push everything to the limit so that it comes across the best on listening.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I did love that aspect, but I did find my perfectionism was very challenged.
Yeah, you have to know whether to draw the limit.
That was
and
hard.
you have to have a very good producer, because you need to be able to trust them that when they say, we've got it in the can, you just say, yep, okay, let's move on. Because if you just keep going, oh, can we just do one more? Can we just do one more? Then you'll run out of time, and the schedule is important.
And I found picking takes very difficult, I have to admit. Did you?
Yeah, so I mean, again, I think it's you've got to have a good producer.
Definitely.
I have always sort of noted things down in the session and gone, oh, I really liked bars blah 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 to blah, bars blah 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 in that take, and he just makes a little note. And then for me, typically the producer puts together a really solid first edit, and then there might be specific things where I say, please can I hear all the takes that we have of this one little passage or this cadenza or whatever, and then I pick and choose. But yeah, it's very important to have a team that you trust when you make a record.
100%. We met for a little coffee beforehand. We were talking about COVID times. And I remember that was rife with recordings.
Yes.
And when you're because I'm obviously a collaborative pianist, and the amount of recordings I had to do for people. I remember I was at Guildhall actually doing my masters, and what we would do is send recordings for people's song classes, and that was like, oh my god, it was really tiring. It's a tiring process, isn't it?
For sure. And I think in the pandemic as well, it was really tricky because in live performance, if something goes wrong, or in the trumpet world, if you split a note or whatever, 2 seconds later, like, everyone's moved on and you don't really hold on to it. But somehow, when we were putting everything online, we felt like it has to be absolutely perfect because it's going to be online for everyone or all around the world to see. And I think that aspect of perfectionism came in a really negative way, and we kind of lost that magic of live music and taking those risks. Because it was like, oh, it has to be perfect because it's going to be on YouTube forever.
Do you think you're quite a perfectionist?
Oh, I think every musician is a perfectionist. I don't think you can be a successful professional musician without being a perfectionist, because you have to have that inner drive to get better every single day. Yeah. Otherwise, why would we still practice every day if we weren't trying to make things better and get better and improve? And music can never be perfect.
No.
I'll never have a concert where I come off stage and think, I could not have played any better.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I think we're all striving for that, but with the knowledge that doesn't actually.
Because something will inevitably go wrong, and it's how you handle it. But that's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
Someone said to me, I think, yes. What's going to happen today?
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to someone yesterday and they said to me, what do you prefer, recording or do you prefer live performance? And I personally said live performance.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Because music is about connection, and it's about sharing an experience. Yeah. And if you don't have the audience there, again, it was like one of the things I found the most difficult about the pandemic was performing to an empty hall.
Yeah.
Getting to the end of a piece and there was just nothing. You know, you finish a concerto and there's
where do we go from here?
Okay.
Yeah. Awkward.
Off you go. especially classical music, where there's like, it's all about the emotions and the connection and that kind of the magic that happens in the moment, concert hall, or wherever.
I mean, I was going to ask you, because obviously I'm a collab pianist and I'm always working with other people.
Yeah.
I do some solo stuff, but I'm much happier collaborating. I'm much more creative when I work with other people. And what I wanted to ask you was, did you have any fun stories from when you were recording with Richard?
What kind of fun stories?
I don't know. Do you have any like fun behind the scenes kind of stories? Did anything happen?
Goodness. I mean, we had like all sorts of crazy things always happen in recording, just from like getting locked out of the church or like all these kinds of things.
Oh no!
Actually, I would say, what we had that was crazy was we recorded in January in Waltham Abbey, and we had that crazy storm coming.
Oh!
None of us knew if we're going to be able to get home, and I was going up to Newcastle to do a concert the next day. Preemptively cancelled all the trains that were going up past York, and I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so eventually my mum had to like drive to the church to meet me as soon as I finished recording, and then she drove me all the way up to Newcastle. So that was like the stress of this particular recording session. It was like, how are we all going to get home because they've cancelled all the trains?
It's so stressful. Oh my gosh, mum's
There's
to the
always
rescue
something.
though. Speaking of collaborating with other instrumentalists, what qualities do you look for when you're going to collaborate with someone? Because you are a really top tier trumpet soloist. You are so amazing at the trumpet and you've had an amazing career. You've still got an amazing career. I don't know, I was saying it like you were retired, but you really have. But you really have. And I would be very interested to know what someone of your level and calibre looks for when you're going to collaborate with other instrumentalists.
It's such an important question, and actually this last season I've been on this big recital tour all around Europe, and for that I looked to work with some new collaborative pianists and actually went through quite a long process of meeting people and being recommended people and playing with them, and eventually honing in on the couple of people that I really got along with. So I think this is something that I've been thinking about a lot recently. And the things that I found most important, I think number one is that artistically you have a similar view of music and a similar feeling. So for example, the wonderful pianist that I found to work with, Jonathan Ware, we both live in Berlin, so that's really handy for rehearsing. But actually the thing that works the best for us is that we both have an innate understanding and like a similar innate understanding of how things should be phrased and where to take the time and where to give it back and which bits should be louder and softer. And I mean, we met up to rehearse last week and we played through a piece of music that neither of us had played before and never played together before. I'd practiced it and he'd practiced it separately, but we'd never played it together.
Oh wow.
And we played it through once and we'd both come up with exactly the same, and it just like fit together so quickly. Like on one, we were like, oh, great, should we play it again? And that was it. You both think about it in the same way. And then I would say the second most important thing is that you get on as people, because you spend so much time outside the rehearsal and the concert together. Especially if you're traveling together, you need to be able to be in sometimes quite stressful situations, running through airports, trains are delayed or whatever. You need to be able to communicate well, get on. For me, it's really important to keep things happy and lighthearted. I try not to get too stressed about things, even when things go really wrong, because otherwise I would spend my whole life being stressed out. So someone that's positive and upbeat and happy and that you can have a drink with after the concert, or you can go for dinner with, but also who understands if you say, actually, I need to go off and just like have a nap. I need a timeout. I need some peace and quiet. Someone that you just really get on with.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. That's the job of a collaborative pianist. I think I said this to you earlier. I think people always underestimate that the piano playing and the playing in general should just be a given factor. You should just be good at your instrument.
Well done.
But people only focus on that. But I feel like that should just be the given thing. There's other skills that are very important in the music business that people completely underestimate. And I totally agree that one of them is just being a super nice person to work with and a supportive person.
And like the basic things, like I think what you're saying is absolutely right about like the playing, the technique, the music, like that's a given. But like being prepared, not like sight reading.
Oh, God.
having a pencil, or just like, you know, but like sometimes,
so true.
Sometimes you can be the most amazing pianist in the world, but if your personalities don't gel, or you have completely different kind of artistic presence on stage, then it's just not the right fit. Like I've had it both ways round. I've had people that have been amazing people and we've gotten so well and like we could be really good friends, but it just doesn't quite work on stage. We have different ideas of music, and I've had it the other way around where we've been like, the rehearsal experience is amazing, the concert performance is amazing, but outside that we just don't really get on and we wouldn't really be friends, and it's like difficult in the travelling and stuff, and it's just not worth it.
Yes, it's hard to find that balance, isn't it? Also, I was thinking about, because obviously you work so much with conductors.
I do.
You know, how do you balance your own interpretation with the conductors as well?
This is like the $1 million question.
Have I hit a nerve?
Yeah, well, all I'm going to say, I'm not going to say too much about this, but what I am going to say is that like it's different with every single conductor that I meet.
Yeah.
I now have a lot of very close friends that are conductors, and I love them all to bits. And I really enjoy working with conductors because, again, it's that kind of collaborative process. But I would say that within 5 minutes of meeting a new conductor, I know how much I can give and take. So you get a feeling very early on whether like it's okay to say, oh, would you mind if the bassoons were a bit louder here?
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's if there's like wrong notes or something to, you know, turn to the concertmaster and say, oh, just watch out, there's a wrong note in the part here. But in some rehearsal spaces, you pick and choose your battles.
The trumpet is a very difficult instrument to play, in my humble opinion. I mean, I've never played the trumpet. I had a boyfriend who was a trumpet player, and he was very, very good at Trinity.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, where you will soon be starting your teaching, which is very, if you don't mind me saying that.
No, very exciting.
Extremely. I studied at Trinity for my undergrad, and I think it's an amazing institute. I think you're going to have a great time there.
I'm really excited.
They've got some good pubs around there as well. But I had a boyfriend who was a trumpet player, and I constantly remember he was talking a lot about his embouchure and his chops and stamina and everything else. And the trumpet is a very difficult and unpredictable and risky instrument to play. Would you agree?
Definitely. I would say the thing that makes the trumpet scary is that we have to rely on our physical human flesh to vibrate, to make 100%. The sound. And some days you wake up and your lips feel rubbish. And you don't really know why, even if you've done all the right things. Sometimes you wake up and they feel great for no reason. But that's really where the unpredictability comes in. The rest of it is fairly, like the instruments themselves are really good these days. Like they're super reliable. Yeah. And things like your technique and your foundations and stuff, you can get that all pretty solid. Okay. But the unpredictability comes in like every morning when you wake up, how are my lips going to feel today? But there's things we can do. Yeah. There's, you know, certain exercises that you can sort of build into your warm-ups if your lips are feeling one way or another way. There's different things you can do to kind of mitigate how it's feeling. What's tricky about the trumpet as well is that if something goes wrong, it's incredibly obvious. Like if you split a note or if a valve sticks or if you put the wrong fingers down, it's very difficult to cover up any of those mistakes. So I think for trumpet players, you have to be quite ballsy, for want of a better word, and you have to have that kind of innate self-confidence and belief that you're just going to go out on stage and like go for it. How
much of the trumpet would you say is physical conditioning versus musical imagination and interpretation?
Oh, that's a very interesting question, because I don't think it's a kind of thing where you can say, oh, it's like 50% this, 50%. You know, it's quite difficult to allocate a ratio to each of those things. But I would say that in my practice, let's say I do 3-ish hours of practice on average every day. I would say probably the first hour of that is the physical conditioning. And by that I mean like I'm doing those warm-ups to get my lips in shape so they feel good. I'm making sure that I can get through the register easily and that my breathing's good, my airflow's good, working on any bits of articulation or working on specific technical aspects of the instrument, and also just like making sure I'm keeping my lips in good shape. If we take even like 4 or 5 days off, it'll take a couple of weeks to get your stamina back up again. Yeah. So like that's the kind of physical conditioning of like every day you need to play as many days as possible. Obviously, days off are absolutely crucial. Well.
I did see you do a cool video though, and I'm going to come back to your content about that you take 24 hours off of your lips or something.
Yeah, this was a hack.
Oh, that was really Because you've got so many cool hacks on your Instagram, which we'll come back to. But...
Yeah, it was actually, it was given to me by a trombonist, and now I'm just passing it
nicked
on.
it.
Yeah, but it was
for the better instrument.
If you're preparing for something and you need to be practicing every day, like a big competition or a big recital or something, and you need your lips to have that stamina that you're trying to build up, but because you're building up your stamina, your lips get tired in that process.
Yeah.
What I like to do is I like to do practice in the morning one day until lunchtime, and then put the instrument away, and then don't come back to it until after lunch the following day. So you give your lips like a full 24 hours off. And I think that really helps, because I mean the best thing to relax the lips and to help kind of repair them is just not playing and sleep.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I might even try that for the piano.
Yeah.
Because sometimes my arms in the lead up to, I mean, I do a lot of weight. I know you're big into the gym, aren't you?
Yeah.
I'm big into, I weight train 4 times a week and do reformer Pilates. My arms feel quite tired from that weightlifting. Because in the run up to a concert, sometimes I'm like, oh, blimey, my arms are really like, because I think the stress actually just makes your muscles a bit more sensitive anyway.
Yeah.
So I myself might be trying that little swapping over to the piano. But then if you're going to interpret a piece, I mean, what is your process for a musical interpretation?
Yeah, so then aside from that kind of like that 1 hour of physical conditioning, making sure that, you know, you can play the instrument well, do everything you want to be able to do, I would say then that having that musical imagination and interpretation is so important. I mean, if you don't have your own ideas about how a piece should go or what a piece is trying to say, where you think this phrase should go, then you shouldn't be a musician, quite frankly. That's what makes practice fun.
Yeah.
If you're just worrying about the technical stuff and you're just playing boring, repetitive technical exercises, you're going to lose your mind. Yeah. The thing that makes practice fun is going in with this kind of curiosity and finding the limits of the instrument and what your instrument can do and what the music can say. How much can we do this crescendo? What if I add an accent here? Or what if I lean on this note? How does that change the phrase and what it's trying to say? Like that's the fun of it.
Yeah, for sure. And just finding little ways to just try things out.
Yeah.
Creativity in the practice. I've been thinking about that a lot recently, actually, in terms of even just how am I going to put my fingerings and stuff like that in here? Even just having that creativity to be
Is there a better way to do this that makes it easier for me?
Yeah.
I mean, I come back to some core repertoire a lot. So, like, for example, like the Haydn Trumpet Concerto, I play it
club banger
many times every year.
Yeah.
But I've been playing this piece since I was like 16. If I didn't approach it with how can I make this even better than the last time I played it? Like, what more can I extract from these black dots on these black lines on the page? I'd be bored.
Do you play it differently now?
Every time I play it, every time I play a piece, it's different. And I think everyone should have that mindset.
Yeah.
You should never be like, okay, I have now achieved, this is my interpretation.
Wrong. Because your life experience will change your interpretation.
Yeah. And your experience of playing it many, many times in the past, you go, oh, I really liked it and also when you're playing it with different ensembles, different orchestras, if you're working with different pianists, like you hear different new things every time you play something. Yeah. And that then like, oh, I really liked how that pianist did this bit. I didn't like it when the orchestra did that. I'm going to make sure that I do this differently so they respond. You know, being curious and inquisitive about the music is very important.
So one of the examples of that is Brandenburg 2. It's notoriously a really frightening, scary kind of piece, right? How do you manage the trumpet's unpredictability or playing high notes?
Yeah, it's like anything in life. If you want to get better at something, you have to practice it. And with the trumpet, the high register is one of those things. And it's something that takes years to develop because
yours is stunning, though.
Yeah, but I have worked so hard at my high register because when I was younger, it was not something that I was just good at. Like, it's something that I've had to work incredibly hard at.
Yeah.
And something that I focused on, like, especially when I was going through my master's and my diploma, and even now, actually, recently, was it at the end of last year, I was playing the Richard Rodney Bennett Trumpet Concerto, which is it has a lot of high notes in it, and it finishes on one of the highest notes I'd ever had to play in public. The last note of the piece, after having played 20 minutes of like really hard music. And so for about 3 or 4 months before that performance, I was like, right, time to get my high register in shape. But then I just worked it into my routine, my daily kind of warm-up fundamentals, foundational exercises, and every day I was working on that high register. On the trumpet, working on the high register, you've got to make sure that you're doing it in a safe, open, relaxed, efficient way. Because like anyone can squeeze a high note out of the trumpet that sounds like, you know,
Yeah.
But to like make a really nice sound for it to be relaxed, for it to be open, for you not to be going ramming the trumpet into your face. That's the key.
We don't want that.
we really don't.
Yeah. Have you played the Brandenburg too?
I actually have never played the Brandenburg too.
Do you want to? Is that like a goal of yours?
I think I had the opportunity. Someone asked me to play it when I was in my final year at Cambridge, and it was in the last term, and it was like final exams, and I was just like, I would need to practice so much every day to get the stamina up to be able to play all those high notes. And I was like in the middle of my final exams, and I was like, I just can't do this right now. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, one day I'd love to do it just for the challenge. And I love that music. I love the Baroque music.
Well, I told you I played the harpsichord myself. Yeah. We talked a little bit about your Instagram.
Yes.
And your content. And I love your content so much.
Kind.
I haven't got you on mute.
Okay, that's a good sign.
That is a good sign. I love following you. I think your stuff's so fun and original. And I think what I love about your stuff particularly is you haven't sacrificed the quality of your playing or your artistic work or your artistic persona. So you're still an absolute badass at the trumpet, and like you are. It's like amazing. But it is so amazing to me because you've still maintained that absolute top tier artistic quality while having a really fun, snappy social media presence, and you've got a really good following as well.
I'm, always trying to grow it and to sort of expand that community and network of people. I think that in this day and age, having a social media presence is so important, and also just to be able to reach people that you otherwise could never. I have people from all around the world saying, oh, we saw that video of, I've watched that video of you playing the Guernica. Years old that is, it just keeps like resurfacing, but like people see it, and it's really fun that then they've kind of like followed you on your journey, and then they come to concerts or they come to masterclasses and things, and then it's nice. So nice to meet people.
Nice. It's just really impressive to me, your content output and the content that you're putting out. I personally don't love content where it's kind of like epic fails or trying to just, do stuff for the views. I personally think it's very important to always maintain your artistic quality as a classical musician. I think it's absolutely key. But how do you balance that? Because it is a hustle doing all the social media. It takes up time.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
And it takes up energy as well. So how do you balance having an intensely busy concert schedule with all this amazing social media output with all the admin as well?
I think people underestimate like how making a video isn't just like sticking a phone and chatting.
It takes ages.
Yeah, it's doing all the edits, putting the captions on. Time.
You put a lot of effort into it.
Recently, what I've been trying to do is like give myself dedicated slots in my calendar, like an hour here and actually, because I travel a lot to all my concerts, I've started trying to use my travel time a bit more productively. So if I'm like sat on a train for an hour and I was probably going to just be reading or scrolling on social media anyway, why not use that time to edit my videos and like schedule them? It's really good. Something I think has really helped me recently is now being able to schedule your posts on TikTok and on Instagram.
Oh, you can do it on TikTok?
Yeah, you can do it on TikTok now in the TikTok studio.
Interesting, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a separate app. It all links together, and you can set it up to schedule like up to a month in advance or something, which is really, really good.
I didn't know that.
So if I know that, like, for example, on this day I've got rehearsals or in the evening or a concert or whatever, and I'm not going to have time to make things, to post things, then I can just like set it up in advance. Okay. So that's really, really helpful. But yeah, I think it's so important to share the realities of what being a trumpet player is like and being a trumpet soloist is like, so that people know that it's like, it's not all fun and games, it's not all super glamorous like 5-star hotels and private jets or whatever, because people think of classical musicians as being these like mega superstars or geniuses or like so talented, or
which you are
words. Sure. Also, it's like a load of hard work, and sometimes it's like schlepping through an airport at 4 a.m. or like there's a lot of like not that fun stuff that comes with it. So I think it's important to show people both sides, and also to share my love of what I do and share my love of the trumpet, and like hopefully inspire more people to to play the trumpet.
Yeah, even
especially girls.
Yeah, I find it very inspirational. I mean, obviously, look, I'm probably past taking the trumpet up, to be honest, but I mean, the piano takes up enough of my time.
Yeah,
but I find the way you do your content very inspirational. I absolutely love it. How do you manage not feeling really drained and tired in your practice and keeping it creative and fun, but not being like super overwhelmed with all the other stuff around you? Because that is difficult, I would say.
I would say especially the last 4 years now, the practice is the number one priority. Or the trumpet playing is the number one priority. And if other stuff around that has to get cut so that I can get my practice done, that's the non-negotiable in my life. If I have to, I've had a super late flight and that practice and then sleep, that's number 2. So if I've had a really late flight or a really early flight or whatever, and it means that I'm not going to be able to get my steps in, or I'm not going to be able to do my workout or whatever, that's the stuff that has to give, which isn't ideal because I'm trying to also stay healthy, and especially on the road. I try to go to the gym, I try to get my steps in, I try to make sure I eat healthy meals, ideally making them myself. I try to avoid junk food or like picking up convenience food as much as possible. It's super high salt, which is really bad for the trumpet.
I'm working on it.
Dehydration, mouth, it's like a lot of salt, salty food. But like that's the stuff, and like the emails as well, like on the road. I'm always like, oh yeah, I'll sit in the airport and I'll bash out 45 minutes of emails. It doesn't happen.
I know.
So it's like being realistic about that, and scheduling, calendar, making sure I kind of keep an eye on everything, and having like a really good to-do list with like priorities.
But then your practice, do you feel like, how do you keep that so when you're practicing you're not like overwhelmed by all the other stuff?
To-do list, or like a notebook. Do you know what I mean?
I've got about 7 in my studio that are all. It's crazy.
It's so helpful.
People buy me notebooks all the time. If you ever want to buy me a present, buy me a notebook, because I'll always be like, oh yes. I just keep them everywhere.
I have the same. I have my journal. I have like a notebook. I have like lists and lists on my phone. And if I think of something, I don't want it to distract me in that moment. Another thing I do, which I find really helpful, is to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. While I'm practicing.
Oh yeah, I put mine upstairs.
It doesn't always work, and of course like sometimes there's an urgent phone call from an agent or a parent or whatever, and you have to take it, but I try to avoid distractions in the practice space, apart from making myself cups of tea.
That's fair enough.
A welcome distraction.
Do you know what? I won't argue with that. Fair enough. Do you know what I do? I have a really naughty habit that I think my friends and family are really sick of. I will constantly just text like my mum, my best mates. I'll be like, note to Claire, do this later. Because then I know if I text them, I'll check my messages to them and I'll be like,
you can
note
text
to Claire,
yourself.
do your tax return. I have started doing that because I feel like, especially my mum, I think my mum archived me recently on WhatsApp.
You can just do that to yourself.
It's so bad. But sometimes I know if I'm like texting them, it will remind me to do it a bit more. I'll be held accountable. Do you know?
Yeah, you need like an AI assistant. I had the funniest. I showed you earlier, but I had the funniest AI experience at a concert recently, where they had clearly used ChatGPT or some other kind of AI to make the poster. And they had submitted an image of me. And then the AI clearly made this poster and changed my face and the trumpet. The trumpet only had 2 valves.
It was the trumpet.
I was looking at this poster and I was like, that's not my nose.
I know.
And then I was like, wait, that's not me. And then, wait, trumpet only has 2 valves.
I was like, oh my god.
But that was, that was a kind of surreal.
That is so funny.
Surreal experience.
AI, just doing AI things. That is hilarious.
It's quite like shocking and horrifying at the same time.
Why did you start this podcast? So, the reason I started it is because my very, very good friend David Taylor, who you also know.
Yeah, very well.
And who you've also done an interview with on his podcast.
That's correct.
I think maybe it was 2 slightly different subjects though.
Yeah.
So if you listen to both, it won't conflict. But he was the one who really encouraged me to do this, because he was like, something that's really unique about you as a classical musician, as a pianist, whatever, is you're very, very chatty and conversational and extroverted. And he was like, I really think you should try and get that side of yourself out there. And I was always a bit, at first, it's not that I doubted David at all, but I was just like, do people really, will they want to see that side of me? I'm not sure if they're interested in that. But it turns out that they are. They want to see it.
It's so funny, isn't it, that we sometimes, well, I think everyone underestimates themselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes qualities that people see in us we don't necessarily think about. I think as humans we're kind of trained to focus on our weaknesses and try and eradicate them.
I think especially classical music.
Yeah, especially it goes back to that idea of like being perfectionist and always improving and always working on oneself.
Definitely.
But like also, as well as eliminating your weaknesses, sure, but also like enhancing your strengths.
When I started it, I really wanted to do... So, for me, one thing I don't always love about interviews is they seem to ask very similar questions. And there is huge inherent value in interviewing an artist on them as an artist. But what I thought might be just something a little bit different and give it a slightly different angle is asking people very specifically about their specialism. Because inevitably, their life as an artist will come into it anyway. Yeah. I wondered if that might just be a different angle. And then it's giving people insights that perhaps they've never thought about or realised, because so much of my own social media, obviously I'm a leader specialist, is trying to make classical music more relatable, more chill, more down to earth, you know, and all of that. And I
break down the barriers.
Yeah, 100%. And I know there's a lot of talk of that at the moment. A lot of people are doing that, but, you know, a lot of people are trying to do that.
Contributing to that kind of,
which is really nice. Good. But sometimes I do think people are still kind of mystified by it all as a genre.
Yeah.
And totally. I think, hopefully, if we talk about the actual specialisms of people rather than them as an artist, it actually will slightly demystify things for people.
Yeah, I think being open about it and bringing people into our world and bringing our world to people, which is another reason why social media is so important, because everyone's there. The whole world is out there. Yeah. And if we can show them and take them, you know, that's us going to them rather than trying to drag them into the concert hall. We can bring that to them in their homes.
I think there's a lot of very negative talk around social media, which, in my humble opinion, needs to be reframed slightly, because I'm all about trying to find the best in things. And I do understand, yes, social media does take up a lot of time. You can be on it for too long.
Yeah.
You know, all of this. And obviously there are some really bad things to social media. But if you can try and reframe it and just try and take responsibility for your use of it and not doom scrolling all the time and have some boundaries in it, actually it's one of the most incredible networking and, you know, content or whatever else tools that we have.
Totally.
There's people I've met for work things that there's no way I would have met them if it wasn't for Instagram. This has been amazing. Thanks. I'm so happy we did this.
Yeah,
so I always finish on like a silly question.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, let me think of one.
How silly? How silly are we going?
It's not that silly. Oh. It's more just like, okay, if you were walking along Baker Street now and you had to pick somewhere to go for lunch, where would it be and why?
Well, the funny thing about this is that I was walking down Baker Street yesterday and before I was getting on a train in Marylebone and I had to go somewhere for lunch. So I can have a very
but of course you know this street because you were at RAM. Of course, yeah.
Yesterday when I was walking along Baker Street and I had to stop somewhere for lunch, I went to Nando's.
What's your Nando's order? Go.
So butterfly chicken, butterfly chicken. Normally lemon and herb.
Okay.
But they've got this new special edition garlic beet barbecue sauce, which was really, really good. Creamy mash, tender stem broccoli.
Wow.
Really good. What I like about Nando's is that they don't smother all their food in horrible oils.
Yeah, I love Nando's.
They don't
it's good.
fry their food. It's just literally just chicken on a hot grill with a nice sauce, bit of potatoes, bit of broccoli.
There was a time I went into a cafe with my best mate and I went to go and pay and I chucked my Nando's card down and I turned around and I was like, this one's on me. And the cashier was like, I think that's a Nando's card. Sorry about that. It's so funny. My Nando's order, I'm actually a bit nervous. Halloumi wrap.
Okay.
Lemon and herb.
Yeah. Lemon and herbs. It's classic.
Garlic bread.
Okay.
Peri salted chips. I usually really load up on carbs in Nando's.
Yeah, it's a vegetable.
I go a bit crazy on the carbs, but if I'm going to Nando's, usually I'm hungover.
Okay.
I don't usually just go for a cheeky Nando's.
Yeah, no, I love a cheeky Nando's.
We'll have to go for one day. That's great. Thank you so much.